All right. 12 p.m. We're going to start this in a second. As soon as I figure out. Oh, that profile picture, Aaron. Ew. So, oh yeah.
I'm glad you noticed, Sean.
Is that your work profile picture? People.
No, it needs to be. I think it's just through Facebook.
I wonder who took that photo.
I know. Someone really talented, for sure.
Yeah, by the way, students, if you ever want Danny to take a picture, just say, Danny, take my picture. And,
I'd love to.
And then she'll do it. That's it. Simple. Okay. 12:02. I'm going to make sure I can get to the right slides. And then I'll get this thing going. Obviously, as I go through this, you have questions along the way, drop them in the chat, and I will try to answer them as they're happening, or definitely at the end, I'll go back and look at the chat. Okay. The intention behind this was to create a resource that could be watched later or rewatched or watched for new students or watched for people who are like, you know, like at work or something right now. Let me share my screen and then I'll get to running my face. Step one, can everyone hear me clearly? Just throw your hand up or put it in the chat. Keely, good. Okay. Good, 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 good. Very good. Share screen. Share, present. What? I can't, I have to go back. Hold on. Knit. Okay. You good? Good. Yeah. Okay. Let me go back to this screen. And all right, so can we all see this screen?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. I'm gonna have the chat window open as I'm going so that I can see if you guys have any questions along the way. All right, here we go. And recording 12:05. All right, 3 phases of energy equation. What I want to look at is clearing up what is maintenance, phases of maintenance, weight loss, weight gain, okay? And then the kind of the gray areas of those 3. So when we look at the 3 phases of energy equation, if we look at loss, maintenance, and gain, if we look at that purely from just the scale, right? We have the scale lowers, we have the scale stays the same, or we have the scale increasing. all right? Now, that's one type of measurement from an absolute of our effect on gravity. But that's not really telling us what's really going on, especially in our environment here at Prevail, where we're lifting weights, right? And resistance training is a bulk of what we're doing. So as I look, oh geez, kettlebells. Poor guy. It's freezing outside. There's getting bells delivered. Doors are locked. Good, good, good. Yeah, it's perfect right there. Perfect. Thanks, man. Okay. So, all right. Body recomp, fat loss, muscle maintain. Okay. So we're going to start in the center of maintenance, right? So there's two different styles of maintenance. There's maintenance of the scale staying the same and us maintaining muscle and maintaining fat. What just happened? I did not arrow. Okay. Okay. Body recomp. If you look at the center of the screen, you have the ability for the scale to stay the same and muscle to maintain and fat to maintain. Then you have the scale staying the same, but losing fat and gaining muscle. So when we say maintenance, doesn't necessarily mean we're at a standstill in our progress. It just means that the scale is maintaining a number. So if that number is 200, it's maintaining 200, right? Now, if we're not doing any, if our energy equation, right, is 0, as in like it's at balance, then we have a maintenance of scale weight. And that's usually muscle maintain, fat maintain. Now, if we are exercising and resistance training and we're paying attention to our food and our habits and our sleep and our daily movement, then we have what we call as body recomp or body composition, right? How is our body composed, or are we recomposing it? All right. Now, as you move towards this side between maintenance and loss, we have pure fat loss. So this would be where I am maintaining my muscle mass and I'm only losing fat, okay? If I go over to this side of the scale, I'm maintaining my fat, but I'm gaining muscle. So this is slow muscle building, this is pure fat loss. And then as we look to the far left, we get into weight loss, where we're losing fat and muscle mass. And then we kind of have this asterisk over here, where you have muscle gain and fat gain on purpose so that you can elicit certain muscle building, right? And this is a different time of our process. And then obviously to the far right, we have fat gain, where muscle is maintained or muscle is lost, depending on time and age, okay? So far, this makes sense, right? Next slide. If I can figure out how to push the button. Okay, body recomposition is the change in the mirror without change in scale. So we've kind of went over that. Whenever we say body recomp, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about minimal scale changes, but changes everywhere else. Okay, this is gonna go a little bit deeper into what I was talking about. When we look at our long-term, short-term goals, the idea is that we want to stay in this center section of the process during our life. So we want to be in these 3 zones and either intentionally staying in one, or alternating between these 3. Okay? This is kind of mastery of self when it comes to body composition, recomposition. Okay? We look to the far right. This is obviously something we want to avoid for our health. And we look to the left is to avoid it by not crash dieting and excessive cardio. Now, there is a time, and I will get to this, where this is going to have to happen, right? We're going to lose fat and muscle, but we want to make sure that we're losing at a certain rate, and I will talk about those rates. Otherwise, we want to think about avoiding the far left and far right as much as we can. Okay, good. Next slide. Okay, so our bodies are daily shifting between these zones, and then we want to watch these trend lines over weeks, months, and to tell the true story. And what I mean by our bodies are daily shifting between these zones, we want to think about all of these things are not absolute, okay? So hour to hour, day to day, your body's cellular energy equation is constantly trying to figure out which direction I'm going. It's never literally straight up and down maintaining. So at 1 hour, you could be in energy surplus or excess or deficit. You could be of all the energy equation stuff. You're constantly shifting left and right, right? Obviously, the more time we spend leaning one way intentionally, in this kind of metronome type of idea, is that the more of that goal I'm going to have. Okay. And this is why body recomp can feel kind of confusing, because literally what's happening is the body's it's ticking back and forth between these. Okay. This is going to be a little bit of an overview of what is energy in, energy out in the energy equation. So if you look at the top end, energy balance, energy out and energy in, the weight is staying the same. Composition may change slightly. Energy imbalance, we have weight loss. So we have right, more than less, we have less than more. This balance happens day to day. This is just an example of changing one thing over time, seeing how that can be more dramatic over a long period of time, which is hard to think about, but that's a good image, okay? This is a precision nutrition slide. If you ever have anything you want to Google about nutrition, get on the precision nutrition website, tons of phenomenal content. And half the staff is certified from precision nutrition. So when you're looking at energy in, energy out, appetite, food consumed, that's easy. Calories absorbed, psychological factors, the out, energy burned at rest, energy burned through exercise. Now, unfortunately, what we see is the majority of the industry talks about these two, consumed and burned. But that's not telling the whole story of what's happening with the energy equation. Okay? And this is why we like to look at the big picture. Next thing, let's talk about a couple of these zones more specifically. Pure fat loss zone is extremely difficult to manage and must be, what does it say? My Zoom stuff is all over the screen. Done in cycles. Yep. Okay. What this means is, like, in order for someone to be at this fat loss muscle maintenance type of area, this takes the most amount of control, and this also takes the most amount of personal, individualized approach and experience, because you really have to have my exercise, the type of exercise, my energy equation, my daily habits, my sleep, stress, all that stuff has to be pretty consistent so that we know which one variable I need to manipulate for fat loss with maintaining muscle mass. This is what Danny and I are doing right now inside of the Prevail Taco Diet. We're attempting to only use fat while maintaining muscle. So this is a balancing act of really knowing the process. This is the most difficult to do. And being that it's the most difficult, this also needs to be done cyclical, which means you can't maintain it forever. You're going to have to do it for a while, come out of it for a while, and go back into it, because your body's going to get kind of tricked, and it's going to start to learn what's happening. And so you have to give it very specific individual focus. Okay? Now, it's obviously completely doable, and we're doing it now. Right? To the left, it is reasonable to lose muscle mass during weight loss as long as fat mass is decreasing faster than muscle loss. So when you're looking at the far left, so we've talked about this, now we're talking about weight loss, fat and muscle loss. When we look at I need to lose weight, right? I want the scale to drop. It is very rare that we can hit just pure fat loss and muscle maintenance, possible, right? But a lot of times we're going to see weight loss and fat and muscle loss. One, when we're looking at muscle loss, we have to think about the type of test we're using to determine that. And we also have to think about it's not literally just muscle, it is saying lean body mass. So that's going to be all the other stuff, connective tissues, the in-between stuff. It's also going to be, if you, let's say you take a muscle and it has a pound of muscle fiber, that muscle fiber is going to hold on to energy in the form of carbohydrates, sugars, and water. Sometimes when we lose a little bit of muscle, we lose that water and that carbohydrate storage, that glycogen storage, and it can appear to be we're losing more muscle mass than we are. So that's why sometimes when you have weight loss, you're going to see muscle loss, but it's going to be at minimum because it's really not as much muscle as you think it is. Okay. Now you can determine whether or not your diet is too extreme if you are losing muscle faster than fat. If you're losing muscle along the way, that may just be part of the process, and that's okay. But we don't want to lose muscle faster than fat. Good. Do we have any questions about the left side of that? Does that kind of make sense? Good. Okay. I'm keeping this chat open in case I see anything. Next. Nothing wrong with wanting to be in any of the zones. I want to be clear about none of these zones are wrong or right. You don't have to be in one of them. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be in any of them either, right? Just because as Prevail as a brand, we talk a lot about not being a weight loss gym. We talk about that in the sense of we're not building our exercise around weight loss, right? We're not building 1,000-calorie burn workouts 6 days a week in order to upset the energy equation. We're building high quality workouts to get all the other benefits of exercise. And then we're talking about habits and nutrition to make weight loss happen. 1,000% people lose weight in our process, right? 1,000% people gain muscle in our process. But I want to be clear that it's okay to lose weight. It's okay to want to lose fat. It's okay to not care about either one of those things either. It's okay to want to be a bigger person. It's okay to want to put muscle on. What's not okay is to push the ends of the spectrums for the sacrifice of health, okay? So that's saying that I am going to push fat and muscle loss so far that I become unhealthy, or I'm going to push fat gain so far that I'm becoming unhealthy. Sometimes we can be hanging around here for quite a while as we're becoming mentally and spiritually healthy with the process and understanding it. And then sometimes when we get towards, oh, I'm just now gaining fat, that's fine, right? Because you could be recovering yourself metabolically, or you could be recovering for yourself emotionally from past processes, and that's fine. We just want to make sure that we're not getting outside of the ranges of health, which I'm going to talk about next. Okay? All your goals are valid. And there's nothing wrong with any specific goal you have, even if that goal is 100% for vanity. Nothing wrong with that. So let's talk about those ranges. So when we look at body fat percentage, we have female and male. These are the kind of ranges we're looking at. Okay. So when we say danger, the unhealthy ends being sub 14% as a female, being over 35% for a female, and then the same thing for male. Numbers are a little bit different. Okay. So when you look at male, 8 and 28. So these are the far ends we want to stay away from. This means that we are in positions that are sacrificing our long or short-term health, which could be a whole wide range of things. We get into a little bit of a gray area here with not healthy. Not healthy meaning you can maintain this for a long time, but it's probably not the most optimal, okay? And this could be a range that we hang out in when we're really trying to understand learning maintenance from a calorie standpoint, learning maintenance from a energy equation, or learning to be consistent in a gym, or learning to get ourselves out of chronic overeating or obsessive eating, or getting our mental health right? This is the kind of range that we're like, it's okay, and it's okay to hang out here for a while on figuring stuff out, but it's really not something I want to be at long term, right? And then you've got the middle, okay? Now, for us at Prevail, right, we're looking at these kind of 3 results. Really, what we want to get to is we want to be in this range, this kind of middle of the ground, fit/healthy range, right? There's nothing wrong with wanting to be down here in the athlete, but there's almost a little bit of sacrifice that comes from being down here that's probably not in line with most of our lifestyles. So this fit and healthy range is where we want to be long term. And when I say that you could be going back and forth between different zones, this is something you also might be going back and forth with, right? You might be learning how many calories you can consume without gaining too much fat, which might be tipping towards this range, right? Or you may have an event or a season that you want to be you want to feel more confident with your shirt off, then you might only be tipping down to this range, right? So kind of thinking of this as like a summer, winter kind of flip-flop, right? Or you might have something you really have very specific goals at down here with this low body fat percentage. But avoid and avoid, okay? Questions about that? Good. All right. The most body fat we can lose in a week is up to 0.5 to 1%. Okay, fat loss phase of 6 weeks should yield about 3%. Okay, so when we're looking at these numbers, let's just say that I am here and want to get to here, right? If I am intentionally in a fat loss phase or a body composition phase where I'm paying attention to my nutrition, I could expect me to go from 31 to 29 or 24 to 20, right, in about 6 weeks. Okay, 6 weeks is a good amount of time to where your body's going to make progress, but it's probably the stretch of where you can like feel like without getting burnt out. So that's an example of those kind of ranges and numbers. Any questions about that? Good. Next thing, let's look at muscle mass percentage charts. And we're looking at body fat percentage and muscle mass being the 2 pieces of the kind of like the mirror, basically, right? We look at, this is kind of under muscle, not good. And this is over muscle. So if we're in these ranges of percentage of muscle mass, right, then we're at a good range of muscle mass, okay? If we're down here, then we know we need to be focusing on a muscle gain type of phase, right? Or really understanding how to get into a body recomp phase to get these numbers up. I'll talk more about that in a second. Okay, this percentage is on your InBody app. It's going to tell you muscle mass pounds when you're on your InBody, and you just take your body weight divided by that number. So I am 170 pounds. My muscle mass was 75 pounds. 140 over 77 gets me to 44%, which puts me right on the edge of this fit athlete range. Okay. Good. Any questions about that? Cool. Remember, there's nothing wrong with any questions. Even if you're taking a bunch of notes personally at this point, like on your own phone or a piece of paper, some sort of caveman stuff, and you want to load all those questions at the end, please start writing those down so that when you get to the Q&A at the end, you have this kind of inventory of stuff to ask. Now, I wanted to give you guys just a reference of where the instructors are in the space. This way you have some sort of idea of like visually what this kind of means, right? This is in no way saying this is your goals or should be your goals, but if you're just looking at the data and going, what's a good thing to try to maybe shoot for, these might be some good ranges. So a body fat percentage between 18 and 22, which is about 32, 36 pounds, 42 to 46% of muscle mass, which is about 60 to 65 pounds. Now, I don't really like looking at the pounds as much, and you've seen I have not talked about body weight scale for instructors because the body types are so different, and we really want to get away from being so attached to the scale number. But these percentages, how much of my body is body fat, how much of my body is muscle mass, that can give us an idea of something that might be maintainable for a very long time, puts in a good healthy range, a good fit range, something we feel confident with. Okay. And obviously there's a range, right? We're looking at 3 to 4%, and that's a big range. But this is a kind of window to be at. Any questions about those numbers? Cool. If you just want to look at this as an image as well, okay, these are very rough ideas of what those body fat percentages look like as a reference. So that if we're looking at body recomp or weight loss or muscle gain, okay. Now, this picture is not telling us how much pounds of muscle any of these individuals have, but it is telling us their body fat percentage. So if you're looking at a purely what I want to look like in the mirror goal, this may give you a range of like, well, I wouldn't mind being here or here, okay? And we already talked about those low numbers up here, right? Okay, this stuff around here, this is extremely difficult to get to and maintain. And if you're looking at these ranges, right, these healthy ranges, these are more maintainable for long term, just as an idea. Okay. Now, let's talk about what does that mean, right? How do I do it? Which one is for me? What are we kind of like? Am I in the wrong one, the right one? Do I have to be in a certain one? And you don't. Okay. But here's one thing to think about. Before we ask which one is for me, let's look at what we're doing and then kind of back off of that. So step one, are you making 3 sessions a week in studio? Right? Are you living the 80-20 life, meaning that 80% of your food and calories are as high quality as possible? Are you working towards a sleep, stress, water habit? So are we at least paying attention to quality sleep, drinking water every day, trying to manage our stress levels? Like, are we kind of getting there? Not that it's perfect, but we're working towards those things. If you answered no, the above is number one goal, right? You can see weight loss and body composition goals just by achieving 1 through 3. So that means if we're not doing these 3 things, it doesn't matter if we shouldn't have a label if I'm trying to lose weight or I'm trying to recomp or I'm trying to change the mirror, because we need to hammer down these 3 things. And when these 3 things happen consistently, those things will change by themselves. You don't even have to put any thought into like, which zone am I in? Which phase am I in? I need to hammer out these 3, and my body's going to let me know, it's going to respond, and it's going to put me into one of those phases. So that may put you into a fat loss or a weight loss or a body recomposition goal that's highly individualized depending on your history and then your change from your history until now and how long you've been doing it. Okay. Now, if you do all those things consistently for months, 5, 6 months now, you've been doing those 3 things, okay? Then we can start to look at total calories consumed on average, daily movement, and conditioning, right? So then we really start to look at the pieces of the puzzle that can give me an idea of like, which one of these should I be doing and how do I do it, okay? Weight loss requires a bigger cut in calories and added movement, whereas body composition changes, you need a lower calorie count, strategic carb timing, specific conditioning, specific workout, not specific workouts, specific overall process, okay? Now, let's talk about weight loss goal, body composition goal. If I have a weight loss goal, do I have a scale goal weight? Yes, no. If I am 180 and all I care about is it saying 160, right? Then I have a weight loss goal. Do I have over 30% or 35%, which is male, female body fat? Then I have a weight loss goal. Okay, because you need to put your process into. I need to be really paying attention to my daily movement. I need to be paying attention to my total calories. I need to pay attention to my exercise consistency in order to get my scale to go down. Okay, because we're outside of healthy ranges, and we've got to get our body fat percentage back down to a healthy percentage, which means you're going to potentially lose some muscle mass, but we don't want to be so hammered in of like, well, I only want to lose body fat to get from 30 to 20% body fat, which is going to be extremely difficult. And that's going to be a very, very long process. I'd rather you thinking about, I have a weight loss goal and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm really going to be paying attention to my big numbers. Okay. Now, body composition. Do I want the mirror to change? Okay. Am I under 30, 35%? Then I have a body composition goal. Okay. So if all I care about, if I'm under my 30% as a male or 35 female, okay, I want the mirror to change, then I'm looking at my body composition or recomposition. I'm not looking at a weight loss goal because the mirror is the goal, not the scale. Okay. Questions about that, please ask. Drop them in the comments. Okay. There's nothing wrong. No one's going to judge you by any of these questions. Now there's going to be a bunch of slides that are going to talk about what does it do? How do I do it? What do I do to kind of get into those ranges? So this is what we're talking about from a healthy, right, unhealthy range. These numbers are slightly different than ours, so don't get too hung up on the 1s and 2 percentages here, right? But basically, this is what you want to do more of. This is what you want to do less of. Okay. Next. Healthy, right? So I want to get to 15, 20 to 25, 30. This is what I need to do more of and you do less of. All of these are in precision nutrition. When you look up the cost of getting lean, that's the PDF. And you can kind of absorb all this information. Okay. Now, if I'm getting lowered, see how what it's wanting to do more and more of and less of, right? It's cranking up everything to get to these numbers. And that's what we talked about. When you start getting to these lower numbers, it takes a considerable amount of work to get there. And this is really tough to get down to, right? And then we get down to almost unhealthy. This is really a lot of things going on here, right? Only carbs post-workout. You're looking at like, instead of 80-20, you're looking at like 98-2, 95-5. And then you have unhealthy, right? This is where on contest day, motos on, this is stuff we see on images from media and marketing. And this is very, very temporary. No one's hanging out at this look for more than a couple days at a time because it's super unhealthy for us and can cause long-term health effects. Okay, so you can go back through those slides or you can look up the cost of getting lean as well. Now let's talk about how do we go from those zones and how much time should I take transitioning or spending in each one of them on kind of an annual idea. So when you're looking at 70 to 80% effort, 80-20, right? This is all year long. This is kind of a bare minimum of what the amount of effort and 80-20 kind of nutrition, exercise, whole process we're looking at. You could be in this zone and see body composition changes for 2 months up to 2 years, depending on you as an individual. Okay, and you get all your goals just by doing this. The weight could go down, the body composition could change, the mirror could change. A lot of things could change in life by doing this. Now, what we're looking at is once we've done that for a long time and things start to stall. So not just the scale stalling, but body fat percentage doesn't change, muscle mass doesn't change, nothing's changing anymore, and I want the mirror to change, okay? Now, if those things are hitting maintenance and they're in healthy ranges, there's no need to change them, right? You could be still making progress in many, many ways in the gym. You could be moving better, you could be moving stronger, you could have less pain, you could have more mobility, you could have a lot of things access to, right? You could just be thriving more as a human inside those healthy ranges and be doing this. But if I want more, okay, and that's okay if I do or do not, then I want to look at cranking that percentage up, okay, for these kind of like 8 to 12 weeks, right? Where I'm going to crank up the percentage just a little bit for a while to make a dent into that equation. Where I could be, my body composition has stayed the same, right? Well, now I want my body recomp to change a little bit. I'm gonna increase my protein. I'm going to look at my overall weekly calories. I'm going to make sure I'm pushing the weights in the gym the way I should be. I'm taking proper notes. I'm really hitting an 8 out of 9 RPE with all my stuff. Like I'm really focusing on that type of thing. And I'm doing that in these blocks that I can maintain. And then I'm cycling back and forth something I can maintain and cycling back. Okay. It says 8 to 12, but this could be as short as 4 weeks depending on the person. So you could go for a month of maintaining 80%. Hey, if you know it's for the next 4 weeks, I'm going to just push a little harder on everything. And then I'm going to come back and maintain, push and maintain, push and maintain. Right? Now, when you're looking at bumping from this 80 to 85 to 90, 98, 95, you want to do that in much shorter blocks. Okay. If you have the ability to go from 80 to 85 or 75% to 85% effort, and you can know what that is, then you could do that for quite a long time. Okay. But you could do it for 2 to 4 weeks. What we definitely don't want to see is we don't want to see a 95% effort of like cranking, kind of like Danny and I are right now with fat loss. You wouldn't want to go past 2 to 4 weeks because one, mentally it's super challenging. And then it's also really challenging metabolically to where you're going to get into a position where the numbers are going to stall no matter what, or you're going to be creating a situation where you have to spend a ton of time fixing it from a metabolic standpoint. So you could cycle this 75, 85, 95, back to 85, okay? Someone could also do 6 weeks of 80 and then they could do 3 weeks of 95 and then back to 80. You could skip the 85 altogether. But this is a good idea of kind of how to, this is minimum, right? This would be like, you know what, I do want to I want the mirror to change a little bit, but I don't care about the scale. I'm going to move this and this part of my energy equation for the next 8 weeks and see what happens. Okay. Or man, I really want to put a dent in this. I'm going to crank for the next 2 to 4 weeks. But when I crank, I understand I'm coming back to at least 80. This is what we always see all the time, right? 100% and then nothing, 100% and then nothing. And by the end of the year, we haven't made any progress. Any questions about this? Some Q&A stuff that I saw questions about. First of all, under body recomposition, the scale stays the same, and we see body fat percentage go down and muscle mass percentage go up. And so it literally thinks, oh, I am turning my fat into muscle. Now, that is not science, that's not what's happening, right? You're not taking muscle tissue or taking fat tissue and creating it to be muscle. What's happening is you have enough upset energy equation to where your body is going, yes, I'm going to be burning fat from metabolic, whatever it is happening, right, from energy equation. At the same time, we're lifting weights. So our body's like, oh, I have some muscle, and now I'm going to create more of that muscle since you're using me. And that's how we can have the number on the scale stay the same, but those percentages and those pounds go up and down. They're not literally physically changing each other. You're getting rid of the fat and you're building up muscle. From a cellular standpoint, a fat cell, a muscle cell, right? Two different things, a muscle strand. You don't build more muscle strands. The muscle strand you have becomes bigger, right? Your fat cell increases in size for the most part, right? So you're decreasing the size of the fat cell and you're increasing the size of the muscle strand, right? So you can lose 2 pounds of fat and gain 2 pounds of muscle. At the same time, scales stay the same, but they're not literally exchanging themselves for the other one. Okay, fat loss. Now, how does that happen? That's the confusing part. You're like, what do you mean? As we are new to a training process or a type of training or a type of habits or nutrition process, there's these things called newbie gains, to where the body has been at this homeostasis for a long time, and we add in just paying attention to our food a little bit. We add in some really smart exercise, and our body goes, I'm going to respond to these things because these are new, fun stimuluses for me, right? And I am going to get rid of this fat because it looks like that's what you want me to do. And you've been tailoring your muscles to do stuff. Well, I'm going to increase those as well. Okay. So newbie gains are highly, okay. This is very normal for a lot of people who start in our process or start exercise. This is also normal if you're doing the same thing for a long time and then you change things. So Danny and I are seeing a little bit of this muscle gain, fat loss coming from doing a large bulk of conditioning work for over a year, right? To getting back into our strength training while paying attention to our calories. So our bodies are going, oh, you want me to, okay, so I see what's happening. You want me to gain muscle now because you're giving me that type of stimulus, and you're also giving me the stimulus to lose weight. Well, I can do that. But we know for a fact that both of us are going to hit a ceiling very quickly in that, to where we're going to have to do as hard. We know that we're going to have to focus on one of the two, right? And that would be fat loss. Body comp is highly individualized. Some may make their goals with never losing weight. So someone could come in and say, you know what? I want to be at a healthy body fat percentage. I want the mirror to change a little bit. And I start doing 80-20 method and coming in 3 times a week, and they can hit their goals and never have to do more than that, right? Some people could do that exact same thing and hit their goals in 6 weeks, while others could do the same thing and it could take 6 months. There's so much individual process that there's no way to give any absolutes for that. Okay. Body comp. Yeah. Weight loss is more likely to happen above that 30 and 35%, when body comp is more likely to happen under those numbers, okay? Or transitioning out of those numbers, okay? But again, there's no absolutes. These are just most likelies. You can be in body recomp indefinitely, okay, until you stall, and then you're gonna have to pick one direction. But that is so individualized that there's no way of saying how long that'll be. Okay. Now, how do we do that though? How do we know what's going on? How do we know whether or not I should be pushing harder into one of those types of phases? And you have to have the data, right? There's just no way around it. You've got to know what is happening to know what to change. That doesn't mean you have to live by, like, you know, weighing, getting on the InBody 7 days a week forever, and you have to count your calories every day forever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying is that we need to be looking at pictures, the mirror, the InBody, clothes, how they're feeling, tape measurements in a really high frequency to look at the trend of my body. What is it wanting to do with this process? If we take the 80-20 principle and the 3 days a week of exercise as one example, that's my stimulus. So I'm going to say, I'm going to put that into my process. And my goal is I'm going to maintain that and make it my goal for 8 weeks. Then I would use weekly InBody, right? 4-week tape measurements, 4-week pictures, right? Maybe daily scale. And I'm going to look at those numbers as it's happening. So if I use the 80-20 and 3 times a week, what is my body doing from that process? And I'm learning from it because I own my own science experiment. So at the end of 6 weeks, I go, well, look, I'm maintaining my muscle, I'm maintaining my fat, and nothing else is changing, right? Then we have to step back and go, okay, am I honest about my 80-20? Am I honest about my 3 days a week? If I am, then I'm gonna have to go, okay, are my workouts at the right intensity inside the gym? Okay, do I need to bump up my 80-20 to 85-15? Do I need to look at my daily movement? Do I need to look at all the other things that encompass that? But if the body composition is changing, muscle mass is going up, body fat percentage is going down, and that's the stimulus you're giving it, then you know that's your stimulus. Keep repeating that, right? Until you see the data stall, and then we have to look at the energy equation and start looking at the variables to change. Okay? Data, you have to have the data. You have to be consistent and objective about the data. It's the only way to learn what's happening. Okay? And to not look at that data as absolutes, as in like week 1 was this, week 2 is that, week 3 the number changed. Oh shoot, what am I doing wrong? You need to go, okay, I'm gonna go 6 weeks. And what happened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Now, at 3, 4, 5, 6, did the numbers go the wrong direction? What was changing? What was I not doing? What could I have done differently? Not I jacked up, right? Nutrition is 80% of weight loss and 60% of body recomposition at the beginning. So weight loss is ultimately, and body comp, I should go back. Weight loss is ultimately all about the energy equation, upsetting it one way for as long as possible. Body recomp is understanding that I am manipulating both things slightly back and forth, okay? But it's a huge nutrition component because that's our biggest upset of the energy equation from weight loss. Now you could put less intensity into nutrition, right? Start exercising consistently and be newer and be under that 30-35%, and you could see body comps changes for a long time. When it stalls, then we have to add up. We have to get more out of that nutrition because that's probably the thing that needs more work, right? That'd be like, if I'm doing 3 days a week in the gym and I'm paying attention to 80-20, I've been doing it for 6 months, now I'm stalling. What do I do? Okay, well, I probably need to bump my nutrition up a little bit, right? And maybe I'll look at doing 1 conditioning day every 2 weeks. Do that for 6 weeks. Does that change my body recomp, right? Progressive overload, volume, type of program suited will change muscle and strength gains, okay? However, at some point, more protein volume may be necessary for muscle growth. So when it looks at muscle growth, if you're like, I want to maintain my body fat percentage, but I want to build muscle, this is also equally as difficult as maintaining muscle and losing fat. They're the same intensity and difficulty, right? But the building blocks of protein, of muscles, are protein. We do have to have a high amount of those in order for our body to create more building blocks, which are muscles, okay? So protein has gotta be at 0.8 to 1 gram per body weight, right? Calories need to be very close to a maintenance or surplus number overall on average, right? And I've really got to be looking for the volume of work in the gym. And that may mean that I need to do a 4th day of lifting if I've been consistently coming in 3 times a week and I'm still not, my muscles aren't wanting to change a little bit, right? I'm not building that muscle, but I have been super consistent with my nutrition. Then we look at, I may need more volume of work, or I've really got to push it harder in the gym when I am lifting. Okay. How long on average should we wait to see if we're stalling out? I think what Patrick is asking is like, once we stall, how long inside of a stall would make sense before I make a change, right? So you really want to look at like a 2 to 3 week window. So if I'm on the InBody and it's week 9, 10, 11, and the numbers are the same, my process is the same, Then it's like 2 or 3 weeks in, you're like, okay, I'm probably going to need to make a change somewhere if I care about these numbers moving more, right? 2 to 3 weeks of a number being really consistent if everything outside the gym is also consistent, right? If your numbers stall, but you had a job change, you I don't know, created a human or something, right? And you're like, my numbers aren't changing anymore, but you've had a huge amount of stress increase. Well, then we're not really stalling. We just had something that's upsetting the equation. Okay. Good. 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 Okay, that's all my slides. Okay, I hope that gives you a good idea of what's happening and how it's happening. Now, please ask me very specific questions that you want to clear up. Remind me the math equation to figure out the percentage from my InBody app. Yeah, so if you take your muscle mass number, so it should be a pound, right? So it should say, whatever it is, 52 pounds, okay? You will take your body weight divided by that number, and that'll give you a percentage. Okay. All of these slides, I will, well, not all of them, but the graphic ones anyways, I'm gonna print them all out, and they'll be all in a binder in the gym so that you can review them. I mean, this one won't be, but like the images of graphics will be. Okay, other questions? Brittany's good. In Company Strong, we are doing 80-20 effort or 85% from your slide. Are we doing 80-20 effort? Oh, in Confidently Strong, right now, you guys are more of a, you guys are learning the 80-20 principle. Now, the amount of percent effort you're putting into it, that's kind of up to you. Like, do you think you're putting 80% effort into the process? Or do you think you're putting 90% effort into the process? So I want to be clear about the 80-20 principle is that 80% of your nutrition throughout the week is optimal as possible. 80% effort into that could be different. So that is something that is tricky and easy to confuse, is it may take 100% effort to get into 80-20 principle. Okay. What other questions? Instructors, do you have any questions? Good, good, good. If Danny is at 25% body fat, hypothetically, she weighs 150 pounds.
I could see a crazy change in the mirror while staying at 100.
Yep. So let's go back to, yeah. Let's go back to this image here, okay? So let's talk about how someone could go from 25% to 22%, right? And if you have quick math or calculator next to you, right? If you have 150 pounds, okay? And let's say what's 150 pounds times 0.03, so which would be 3%. 4.5 pounds, okay? So in theory, the individual could lose and gain, they could lose 4.5 pounds of fat and gain 4 pounds of muscle over, if we have our percentages here, right? That would be 1%, right? So if we talked about 1% a month of each direction, that could be over 4 to 6 months. Someone could go from 25% to 23 or 22%, and their scale could never change, and the percentage could go up and forth, up and back, and that would be the change in these two images, here and here. Okay. Good. Any other questions? Yeah. Nothing? Good. Okay. Killa P, Rachel, Aaron, Patrick, while you're here live, you've got my earballs, eyeballs, Jen, Keely, Zoom user. Buy those. Do you need to unmute yourself and ask a question? You can do that too. Okay. Well, oh, who's that?
Sean, I have a question. If you are wanting to get more into the 85% range, like if you've kind of been in body comp, a healthy range for a while, are you looking at what you're putting in your body and how much you are exerting in the gym as well? Do you need to evaluate like both of those at the same time, or try one out first, then go to the other? I hope that kind of makes sense.
Yes, that does make sense. So you're saying like, what I'm doing now has created this result, but I kind of want a slightly different result. What do I change? Or how
Yeah,
much?
what's the first thing to kind of tackle?
Well, the first thing to tackle is highly individualized, right?
Okay.
Which I know sucks, but humans are all really odd. Now,
Yes.
right. But the thing to think about is like, what's the next big rock in my process that I can confidently attack and I could do consistently? Right? So
For 2 to 3 weeks, that range.
right.
Okay.
It could be anything. It could be, well, I never do a conditioning workout, or
Right.
I rarely ever do a carb and protein snack, drink, meal post-workout consistently, or I'm not at 100 grams of protein consistently, or it could, I only go on 1 10-minute walk one time a week. It could be any of those pieces, and I would just take 1 to 2 of those pieces and be like, all right, well, I'm really going to push. I'm going to take my protein from 80 grams to 120 for the next 3 weeks, and I'm going to get an in-body 1 time at least per week, and I'm going to see what that does to those numbers.
Okay, that was my next question, is how often getting on the in-body when you are making these changes?
Yeah, I think if we're in a body recomposition goal, at any point, we need to be on the in-body on a solid once a week basis.
Okay.
Like just constant until we don't care about those goals anymore.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if you're trying to move from 35 to 30% body fat, do you suggest starting at a 3% goal over 6 weeks and then reevaluating, or going for the 5% over a longer period? Jen, that's a great question. I would think about this from a different direction. I would think about, what am I going to do to get myself either that 3 to 6%? Okay, so what are the actions I'm going to take to make that 3% happen? And then I'm going to try to manage those changes as long as possible until I feel like I can't, and then see what happens. So if it's like 3 days of exercise is like one of the things, and the other thing is I'm going to, I don't know, like I'm going to, right. Okay, yeah, like I'm going to add in a salad every day, or I normally get the cupcake for breakfast every day, and instead I'm going to have 2 eggs or whatever it is that you're doing, right? You're saying I'm going to take these 2 to 3 things, and I'm going to look at 6 weeks of doing those 2 to 3 things. Is that getting me 1% at a time? And if that is, then I'm going to hold on to it. But if I start to do this 1, 2 things and it's not working, then I know I need to crank up higher and higher and higher. And you'll kind of get to a point you're like, man, I got to do all these things to get my body to change. So say you figure out that you've got to do these 6 things over 3 weeks, and the numbers start to change. You're like, well, how much longer can I do this cranking up on stuff for my body to change? And then we go, oof, I don't know if I can do this for another 2 weeks. Cool, I'm going to go back to what I was doing before to maintain my numbers. And that gives me a better idea if I should be doing it a 3% goal or a 5% goal for a longer period. Because someone may be able to make 4 to 5 changes and be able to maintain that for months, right? To get to 5 to 6%. So I would look at, what can I do to get my 1% to change, right? And worry about that 1%. So I'd get on the InBody at least once a week or twice a week, whatever it is. And I would start to change 1 or 2 things, and I would give it 2 to 3 weeks. Did that change the 1%? No, I'm gonna add a little bit more. Did that change the 1%? No, did that? And till I find the recipe of things, they're gonna change that 1%. And then, okay, I found the recipe. How long can I maintain this? Great, thank you. Perfect. I'm glad you asked that. I appreciate that.
Hey, Sean. Okay, if I am in this like maintain progress right now, just because of my situation, I'm working out at home. I don't have the heavier weights that we would have access to in the gym. Got a little bit of increased work stress, no InBody to step on.
Yes.
How do I know and be confident that I'm maintaining progress? Does that make sense?
Yes. Are you
Because
saying?
I mean, I can just go through the workouts, but
Yeah. When you're saying progress, maintain progress in what? In body fat percentage?
that's a good question. I guess so. Yes. Just
I mean, there's nothing wrong.
maintain. Yeah. I think just like maintaining where I'm at currently. Like, I don't want to, I can't really build muscle, I guess, because I don't really have like the heavier weights, and I don't want to lose muscle, but I also don't want to be coming back to the gym gaining a bunch of fat. So
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Great question. Well, for one, you can totally build muscle with not having heavy weights, right? You just have to
Okay.
add intensity to wherever you can, right? Super slow negatives, lots of holds, lots of isos. If all you have is a 15-pound dumbbell, but you need a 30-pound dumbbell, we'll go as slow as possible to make 15 pounds feel like 30.
Okay, great
Okay.
tip.
That's one thing. Yeah. Adding bands, adding time, adding tempo, lots of ways to add extra without having to get heavier. The other thing is, if you don't have an InBody, right, what you want to look at is 1, the mirror, 2, right, you may want to actually just kind of give yourself like a little bit of self-assessment of like, okay, when I'm relaxed and I kind of like squeeze on my shoulders, what does it feel like, right? And how are my clothes fitting? And then how are the quality of my workouts? So if that's staying, right, if I'm still lifting weights like I like to, right, I'm not getting like, the mirror isn't changing dramatically. There's going to be shifts up and down, day to day, week to week, and month to month as a female. But overall, is everything staying pretty much on track that I'm doing good? I don't need that data, because really I'm trying to hold on to what I'm worked for.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
You have one of those bros with you all the time. What are they called? Husbands. Just ask
He's-
him. I'm kidding. Don't ask him. Just kidding. It's okay.
Yeah, don't ask him.
Just grab your ass every now and then. Go, yeah, that feels about right. You know? And then go, okay, yeah. All right.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, ask whatever you're. Okay. How much time has that been? Whoa. I stayed right at almost like an hour without other. This is pretty good. Okay. I'm going to I'm going to shut this down, and then I am going to save it, question mark, post it into YouTube, question mark. Hopefully all that should happen without any technology changes. And then you can have reference to it. And if you have questions about this in the future, if you want another sort of training video about something else, please let me know, because I really want to build up this library of resources for you guys so that you have something to refer to if you have questions. There is a Fat Loss Forever video on YouTube. There is the video from our last nutrition workshop and last sticker week on YouTube, going over other things similar to this as well. And so I really want to build up this giant library of information for you guys. Cool. Thank you very much for attending. Appreciate your questions. Have a solid day. There's a hand wave.
Bye.
She can't, it's the screen, it's still sharing. Stop sharing. See your faces.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.
How do I end it? There's a, oh no. There's a puppy in a cone of shame. Poor guy. Get out of there, buddy. You'll be all right.